the most tortured American sports franchise. Say it.
I was waiting for you to say it.
Would you like some franchise with that? Thank you. The most tortured American sports franchises in history. Bill Simmons brought this up on his podcast recently after the difficult loss for the Bengals and the Vikings. Bangling, Walshing. There's so many different words that have now been coined in the Urban Dictionary because of those losses. So they brought that up. Bill Simmons referred back to an article he wrote 5-6 years ago on ESPN when he was back with ESPN. And these were the rules he put together, the stipulations for being one of the most tortured franchises in American sports history. So guess what? If you don't watch to those rules and you don't read those rules, you cannot try to argue about the list because that's his laws. We'll maybe make a different list, but his list is this. His rules are this, I should say. We begin. You need at least a 35-year drought without a title. That 35-year rule doesn't apply to relocations. During the 35-plus years without a title, it's not enough to lose. You need to have your guts wrenched a few times. Only teams in cold weather cities are eligible for level 1 unless the situation is cruel, unusual, unforgiving, that it's practically unprecedented. Think about the Chicago Cubs with that one. You need to be just pessimistic enough to keep your guard up for a sucker punch, but just optimistic enough to keep lowering your guard at the worst possible time. Outsiders need to instinctively empathize during a level 1 takedown, as in like a DEFCON level 5 gut punched to the balls.
This sounds to me like the way when we went to that Kicking and Screaming Festival when they were describing Philadelphia fans. Just like in general.
Negadelphia.
Yeah, Negadelphia.
So here we go, 15 through 11, the most tortured. Remember, this was written before, so guess who isn't on this list anymore? The Seattle Seahawks. The Mariners and the Seahawks were 14 and 15. The Portland Trail Blazers at number 13, the Eagles at number 12, and the Jets at number 11. We'll go to 10 through 6, and then we'll discuss. The Cleveland Cavaliers, last title, never. 9, the Buffalo Sabres. 8, the New York Knickerbockers. I like how he calls them Knickerbockers. 7, the Toronto Maple Leafs. 6, the San Francisco Giants. Cleveland Cavaliers specifically, last title, never. Last truly devastating defeat, the shot, 1989, a true stomach punch. They had just taken the lead a few seconds earlier on one of the best inbound plays ever executed. We'll make sure to throw a screenshot for you at that one. He even let us know. Fast forward to the 3-minute and 22-second mark. Thank you, Bill Simmons. And then, oof. Rock bottom, Orlando's shocking upset of the Cavs in the 2009 Eastern Conference Finals. They never saw it coming. Next time they will. Maybe it gets added even more because LeBron, like the injuries that happened in 2014 against the Warriors.
Yeah, and that's
2015 against the Warriors.
It's astounding to me that in a torture franchise list, we have a team which in this day and age has arguably one of the best basketball players in history to be playing. In this last finals, more than anything, for me, if I'm a Cavaliers fan, might cut me up more than anything else because you have the squad. You had the ability to do it. You were so close because you have one phenomenal player who literally took everyone on his back and carried them through to the point that you were competing till the very end. But that must have just struck home for me because if I lose a title and it's because I don't have my full starting 5 that I could count on if perhaps LeBron James runs out of energy or runs out of gas somehow to continue through, that's going to cut me up, man. Because you know to yourself, I'm not saying they would have won if they had everyone there. Golden State, we all know are a phenomenal team, but it's just that, it's that question. It's that question, because if you lose outright, in any sport, you lose, you're outdone, you're like, finally, I can move on. But if you lose because you didn't have your full starting team, potentially that is the reason why, that's going to cut me up.
Yeah.
That's torturing me, if you may.
Torturous, as you will. Number 8 was the New York Knickerbockers. You'd have to be 45 years old to genuinely remember, to have a vivid, photographic memory of the Knicks winning the title in 1973. That hurts a lot.
I was going to say, how does that feel?
My dad remembers that. My dad remembers it, and then he's probably forgotten most of it.
Do you think you'll need to be 45 before you can remember the next time?
I'll kill myself. If I make it to 45.
Well, that's without Godzingus.
Maybe that's right. They don't have Godzingus in effect for this one. But in terms of the Knicks, man, a big gut punch was all Linsanity was a gut punch, I thought.
Yeah.
This false hype around the Knicks. Jeremy Lin was Linsanity. Stephon Marbury, gut punch. The 2000 finals against 1999 against the Spurs.
Is it not
gut punch? Patrick Ewing's ball hitting the back of the rim, coming out. Gut punch.
And this is what I'm thinking though, like just asking you from your perspective as a Knicks fan, when you get Carmelo Anthony, are you are you expecting
I ran around
just titles to just flow in with someone of that stature coming to your franchise?
I got Melo tattooed on my ass.
And then D on the other side, just in case he moves. Melo, D. Melody. Like
Melody.
Your music.
Oh, I thought you meant like mellowed. Like he was here. Mello was here.
I was thinking about that.
Melody. We're going to pass by the Maple Leafs because my favorite joke about the Maple Leafs was the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. This is the only time the Maple Leafs get to see a Stanley Cup. Oh, Pazing! San Francisco Giants do not count as number 6. Their last title was never when this article was written, but they've won 3.
What is this?
San Francisco Giants have a baseball team.
Giants.
On to number 5. Cleveland.
Cleveland just isn't enjoying this.
The top 5's intact, almost as is. I would agree with that. The Cleveland Indians, man, I'm not going to talk about too much about them, but their last title was 1948. 1738, sorry. Just every time it sounds like that. And then the Cleveland Browns, that's a much more fun organization to talk about. Last title was 1964, also their last NFL championship game appearance. There's a million devastating defeats in Browns history, but it's more we'll throw a picture of this for you guys also. The ongoing Browns jersey, the infamous Browns jersey of all the quarterbacks selected first from like Couch, Manziel, Hoyer, right? Whedon, I think, is on there. All the guys that have been selected or started, it's like a list of 20 names. Whew. I think it's such an interesting list because they all were pretty bad quarterbacks for the Browns. Number 3 is the Bills. You want to know why number 3 is the Bills? And they have an argument to be number 1. They lost 4 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah. Yep.
Last title, Francis, 1965.
That's a long time. That Celtic had won a Champions League in that time.
Number 2 is the Vikings. Last title, never.
How much?
Do you know what I love about this article so much? Their last truly devastating defeat, according to Bill Simmons, was this past Sunday.
Of course, that's what I was going to say.
But it was written 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they were talking about an entirely different game. But it still holds up because this past Sunday, Blair Walsh shaked it.
That's what I was thinking. Like, you bring a team into Antarctic, which it was. I was cold watching that game. You have obviously a great chance against a Seattle team that have been up and down throughout the season, and then you have a possibility of going through from a very, very makeable field goal kick. And this is why kicking just should only remain in the sport that really counts for kicking. That's what I said on Twitter, and that's what I stand by. Leave football to footballers. Right. But when you, it's a part of this sport that people just like kind of just take as a given. And when you lose by that part of the sport, what does it feel like? Because I'm not a fan of any particular football team. My allegiance is somewhat towards the Seahawks because I have a lot of friends who are in Seattle, and when I was in college with them, I preferred them, and I like the green. I just like green. Anyway, but has any of your teams ever lost by a field goal? Like, what does that feel like? Because that is a part of this sport that obviously it's the reason why it's called football, or it probably is, whatever. I don't know why. No one has answered that question for me yet, but it is part of the sport that is just looked upon as a given. You make a field goal, okay, you need to try and make this. It's part of the sport that is overlooked in terms of the athleticism that is going along with the sport, the receptions, everything, the quarterbacks. How does it feel to lose by a field goal?
I can't tell you from the footballing perspective because Lawrence Tynes for the Giants kicked some good field goals. I mean, well, actually, I can. Here's an example. The Giants and the Packers in the NFC Championship game 2007 when they went on their first run to beat the Patriots, the undefeated Patriots. Before that, they met the Packers in what was like the 4th coldest game in NFL history. It was like negative 1,000 degrees. It wasn't negative 1,000 degrees. It was negative like 7. It was cold, right? It was cold like Minnesota. Giants drive down the field. They can win the game in regulation against a team they're not supposed to beat. And Lawrence Tynes shanks the field goal to send it to overtime instead of winning, to which that was it. Game's over. No way that the Packers aren't going to like run down the field and win. And he ended up hitting it in overtime, so it didn't really hurt as much. But that was a devastating moment. The Mets were 6 outs, 5 outs, and 3 outs away from winning 3 of the World Series games. Oh! Yachty, I mean, Endy Chavez went up for an amazing, maybe the greatest postseason catch of all time if the Mets win the game in 2006 NLCS against the Cardinals, and they lose that game because Adam Wainwright throws the nastiest pitch that froze Carlos Beltran, to which, by the way, Carlos Beltran is dead to me. he could walk in for an interview and I'd show him the door. And that's, I mean, footballing wise, I know we got to wrap it up. I want to get to the Cubbies because I have some really funny stats about facts about the Cubs. But footballing wise, world footballing wise,
Most tortured team?
what's the no, just for you? What was the most torturing defeat? What was the worst? Any extra minute goals?
Celtic. It was called Decision Day. Celtic versus Rangers. They weren't playing Rangers. Celtic were playing Motherwell. Rangers were playing another game, and there was a helicopter flying around with the trophy. Because on that last day...
What if they dropped it?
Yeah, well, they just were dangling it, and but the stadiums were so close, they didn't know which team was going to win the league that year. Celtic conceded a last-minute goal to a player who would become a Celtic player, Scott McDonald, scored, and it was just devastating because people could see the helicopter flying back towards Rangers' game. Our bitter rivals.
You smell that?
It was devastation.
It smells like a clip, Francis.
It
smells like the most tortured world football teams.
I think that's a good clip. I think that's a good clip. There'll be a lot of good shouts in there. People might say Liverpool when it comes to their Premier League, but they have won a Champions League in amongst that time, so they're not really tortured. But for a Premier League, they're tortured. They're hung, drawn, and quartered.
Close, man.
Very close.
Poor
that
Stevie
was
G.
That was poor Stevie G. He's in that list.
So number one is the Cubbies. Some fun facts about the Cubbies since they last won a World Series, which was 1908.
19-0. 19-0.
You ready for this one? For these few, the Titanic was built, set sail, sank, and rediscovered since the Cubs last won a title. Famed broadcaster Harry Carey was born and died. 4 generations of kids have lost their virginity since the Cubbies have last won a title. You'll grow a beard before the Cubs win a title?
Me?
Yeah.
Of course I will. Oh, wait. That might not be true. We'll see. That's some rough times.
This could be the year, though.
The world has evolved a lot since
This could be the year.
You think so?
2016.
That's why they're fitting into this talk, just because they've got that slight bit of optimism.
You know the last time Cubs won a title?
Hit me.
1738. Yeah. Do your best, Fetty.
1738. Yeah.
One of these.
Oh my God. Boo! Betty Whelp's coming in to do
Comment below! What is the most tortured franchise? Yes, those of you who just looked at the list, you're going to be like, but the Giants won 3 titles!
I got a Glot in my Rari.
And you're what?
Rari.
Rari.
Hit the subscribe button. QIT Sports.